Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chess Coaches Meeting. My name is Charla Hudspeth, and I'm the Executive Director of Extracurricular and Extended Learning Opportunities. The format for today's meeting will be a short district PowerPoint presentation, followed by a presentation from Dennis Ravenel and Christine from Chess Kids. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and type those into the question and answer chat box at the bottom of the screen. We'll try to answer those as we go along, or if not, we'll get to them by the end of the presentations today. I want to start with sharing how we support you as a campus in the Student Activities Department. We really want to make your job as a coach as easy as possible. We know the toughest thing is working with the kids and building out your team. So we really try to provide you with resources, materials, when we're at actual competitions, food and incentives and registration fees and covering those transportation costs. We hope that that makes it easier for you so that you can concentrate on being a coach. The department covers chess, of course, starting at the 3rd grade level all the way through the 12th. It is one of our largest programs. However, as you can see, we have quite a few programs. Last year, we added esports, which was a huge endeavor, and we're expanding that this year. We also added this year middle school cheerleading. At the high school level, we've added this year, well, we added it last year actually, Social Impact Challenge. The theme this year is voting. That is the district's response to the Aspen Challenge that we've had in previous years. And we added Link Crew, which is a freshman transition program at the high school level. We've got 11 of our high schools participating in it this year. We're hoping to expand that to all high schools next year. So all of these programs, with chess being one of our largest, our primary contact person for chess is Angie Nuno. So she is your person that you will contact if you have any questions. Toward the end of the presentation, you'll get her contact information. Not only is she responsible for chess, but she's also responsible for esports. So I want to share with you some of the other coordinators in our department and what they're responsible for. They are a great group of people that make every one of these programs happen every weekend, and multiple competitions on the weekends and now during the school week. Noelle Spear is responsible for elementary, UIL, Lone Star Challenge, TMSCA, Activities Site, and Destination Imagination. Leonidas Patterson is responsible for secondary UIL, academic decathlon, academic pentathlon, social impact challenge, and Link Crew. Christina Martinez is responsible for middle school and high school cheer, newspaper, yearbook, social media training, and the activity site. Erica Guzman is your contact person for transportation, and she also handles our budget and supplemental pay. And then Vicki Beeman is our office manager. You know, it's gone from week to week to year that we've really, as a team, been able to see the benefits of students participating in extracurricular activities and what an impact that it has on their school experience, not only for them, but also for coaches. So thank you so much for taking this on in a time where I know your plates are always full, but especially this year. Students really, really need these extracurricular activities to stay connected with their school community and to form teams and relationships with other students. So thank you for making the commitment and agreeing to be a coach this year. We know that involvement changes the school experience for everybody, and it can really change the climate and culture of your campus. You play a huge role in that, and we could not do that without you, and we appreciate you for taking this on. Coach expectations, pretty much the same as they are every year. You know, if it's a face-to-face competition, you know, you're expected to ride the bus. If you've got transportation with your students, stay with your students. Make sure that you submit everything in a timely manner. Really nothing out of the ordinary there with coach expectations. It's just kind of a standard that we want to meet. If you received the emails from Angie, then that means that your principal designated you as a coach in Oracle. And you should have gotten an email that notified you of that, and hopefully you signed it. What happens is when it comes time to pay, if you haven't signed that agreement, you're not in Oracle, and it really holds up the process in trying to submit payment. So if you have not received that email or you don't recall signing it, go to your principal and ask if they have designated their academic coaches in Oracle. If they haven't, it's no problem. It's not too late to do it, but have them go ahead and do that so that we have a record of you and we make sure you get all the correspondence and all the information that Angie sends out. Your stipend, what's great this year is because chess is one of our largest programs and we have so many students that want to play it, we were able to add an additional coach. So every campus can have up to 2 chess coaches this year instead of just 1. So that is really great news for those of you that have large programs. That supplemental pay coach agreement will list all the specifics on what the other requirements are, but that's the main one. Make sure you sign that agreement. That shows you how the tournaments will be paid out and what you're responsible for to make sure you get that pay. The other thing that's changed this year is the field trip request process. Not so much the process changing, but where you go has changed. So make note of that link. That is a different link than what you've used in the past. We will not have any transportation in the fall. Hopefully we'll get back to face-to-face in the spring, but this is just something you can refer back to when it comes time for transportation in spring tournaments, that this is the link that you will go to. Erica, once again, is your contact person, and she's always available to answer any questions you may have with transportation. Okay, so back to Angie. She is your primary contact person. She is the person you call for anything about stipends or fees or district resources, district policies, or any concerns that you have. While Mr. Ravenel loves answering these questions, that's really not what he likes to spend his time on. So Angie is your contact person for all things district related. And if she's not available, any of us are available to help you. Our main number is right there at the bottom on the left side. It's actually, I think, 972-749-5700. And with that, we'll switch over to Mr. Ravenel and Christine Van Cott.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to the wonderful world of Scholastic Chess Student Activity Style. My name is Dennis Ravenel. Many of you know me already, and hopefully the rest of you will get to know me soon. I'll be your point of contact for all things related to chess instruction and chess tournaments for this calendar year. My email address is simply my last name @gmail.com, and you'll be getting emails from me soon if you haven't already. Contact me anytime for any questions, and I'll usually get back to you within 48 hours. But I will say that I do not love answering questions about stipends or other business stuff. That's strictly Angie. So if I get them from you, I'm going to forward them to Angie. I'll be giving you a quick primer on running an effective chess club, along with our expectations for your students by the end of the school year. Now, the Student Activities Department has once again purchased memberships for you and all of your students in a valuable website called ChessKid.com. After this brief primer, I'm going to turn things over to Christine Van Cott of ChessKid, and she will show you how to use this extraordinarily powerful tool to customize and maximize your chess instruction. Now, if you have any questions during the presentation, I think Charlotte already covered this, but let me just repeat it one more time. There's a Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen. Some questions we'll answer live, other questions we'll answer via chat, and questions that are either too complicated or specific to just one coach we'll answer in an email after the presentations are over. Everybody's time is valuable. We don't want to waste it. Now, if you've signed on to be a chess coach in a moment of weakness and are now wondering, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? You can relax, because we've made it really easy for you to coach and teach chess to your students. Now, let's first talk about organizing your club, and this is mostly for the newbies. The Student Activities Formal Chess Program is open to all students from grades 3 through 12. We recommend meetings once a week, after school, for about an hour and a half to 2 hours each week. That's what I call the ideal, but we can't always get the ideal. Some clubs meet before school, some clubs meet during lunch, some clubs meet during planning periods. But I found that after school for 2 hours works best for me. You'll figure out what works best for you as you move along. As far as your room setup is concerned, ideally, kids can be at tables where they can set up on either side of a chessboard, facing each other, and also see you if you're going to be doing instruction. Rectangular tables are best, but I've also used those portable seat desktops facing each other. They slant a little bit, but they're good enough to hold. They're good enough to hold a chessboard. Now, if you're meeting after school, I strongly recommend that either you provide a snack for the kids or have them bring their own. At the Daily Chess Club, we had about 40 kids, and kids brought their own snacks, and we did about 10 minutes of snack time and hangout time and social time before we actually started instruction. And along those lines, you may want to spend a little social time, giving the kids an opportunity to decompress after a long day of school. I usually start with a couple of problems set up on demo boards, an easy one for beginners, one a little bit more complicated for the advanced students. But there are other things you could do. There are warm-up games, a game of introductions if your club is new and your players are new to each other. But above all, keep it light, make it fun. Chess is a game. It's not another extension of the school day. School days are long enough. I found simple prizes like stickers or trinkets go a long way towards keeping your kids interested, happy, and focused. Now, once your session actually begins, I would recommend a lesson of no more than 20 to 30 minutes. Spend the rest of your time allowing the kids to play. Yeah, they'll make plenty of mistakes in the beginning, but as they play with each other, they'll learn. And the more they play, the more they'll learn. And they probably learn more from playing with each other than they do from a lecture of you standing in front of them talking about pawn to e4 is better than pawn to a2. When I coached at Dealey, we had a lot of kids, so I divided my club into two groups. We had a beginner group and we had an intermediate advanced group. When I was the only instructor, I would do instruction for the beginners first while the advanced group played, and then I'd let the beginners play while I did instruction with the advanced group. There are lots of different ways you can set up your club, and if you have questions about that, by all means, send me an email and I'll give you as much help as I can. But do what works for you and what works for your kids, and don't be afraid to explore. Now, if you're meeting in person, there are a number of games that you can set up for beginners before they're involved with all 32 pieces. The pawn game, where it's 8 pawns against the other 8 pawns, no pieces involved, and the winner gets their pawn, is the first player to get their pawn to the other side of the board. There are variations on that where you can play 8 pawns against the queen, 8 pawns against 2 rooks, anything that helps the kids learn how the pieces move and how they capture. Now, again, for you new coaches, I've written a primer for chess coaches that I call Let's Play Chess Step by Step, the first 9 lessons. There are 9 one-page lessons on pieces, piece movement, piece value, check, and checkmate. And those are the basic things that your kids will need to know to get started. Once they've mastered that, they can actually play chess. Now, ChessKid also has a printed curriculum, and both of those will be available to you on the Student Activities website. Now, by the end of your first year, what do we expect your kids to be able to do? Well, by the end of your first year in chess, we strongly urge you to make sure that they know, one, how each piece moves, the value of each piece. Queens are worth 9, rooks are worth 5, and so on. What check looks like, what checkmate looks like, and what stalemate looks like. Now, those are the basic concepts that you have to have mastered in order to be able to play this game with any degree of success. In addition, we'd like them to know what castling is and how that's done, and also a very little used rule called en passant. When kids have that sprung on them at a tournament and they've never heard of it before, they're ready to swear that their opponent is cheating. It doesn't happen often, but it's something that the kids should learn. We'd also like them to be able to read and write chess notation. Writing chess notation it's hard because it takes energy and it takes concentration. Even if they can't write it, it's important for them to be able to read it, because by reading chess notation, they can replay their own games, they can replay games from other masters and other teachers and other coaches. And finally, we'd like them to know, at least understand the basic opening principles, and there are only 3. Attack the center, Develop your pieces, meaning get your pieces out of bed so they can fight for you, and get your king in a safe position, moving from the center of the board to more to the edge of the board by castling. If your kids know that by the end of the first year, then you've had a successful year. Now, once they've mastered those things, then the great American chess grandmaster answered this question for me when I spoke to him at a chess tournament several years ago. I said, after your kids learn the basics, what do you teach them? What do they need to know? And he answered in 3 words: tactics, tactics, tactics. Tactics is a way to gain an advantage. There are tons and tons of tactics, but some of the simple ones are pins, forks, skewers. You'll see them in the Chess Kid curriculum, and you'll see them in a lot of other places as well. But the more tactical your kids get, the better chess players they're going to be. Ideas about studying openings, well, the problem with that is there are so many variations of so many openings that if you memorize 1 or 2 or 3, you can still get tricked up and trapped up by
Excuse me,
variations that you've
Dennis.
never seen. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. So we're gonna have this handouts explaining all of this to our coaches, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And a lot of the material, a lot of the tactics that I'm talking about, they're going to be found on the Chess Kid website, but they're also going to be found in a whole lot of other places as well. To make it real simple, I'm not going to try and teach you all of these today. To make it real simple, when you have questions about anything chess related or chess instruction related, just drop me an email and I'll answer you within 48 hours, I promise. Now, on Chess Kid, if you're a new coach, by now you should have received an invitation to join Chess Kid. Once you accept that invitation, you'll have access to all the features of the site. New or returning coaches should be able to log into the site chesskid.com from your browser. If you've not yet received an invitation, or if you can't remember your password, again, just send me an email and I'll get back to you, usually within a day or 2. Now, on the Chess Kid website, there's a terrific introductory video called The Magic of Chess. That, plus the Let's Play Chess, the first 9 lessons, should get you new players started very quickly. So now I'm going to close by saying the great news is that you don't have to spend a dime on instructional material. Chess Kid has made their full written chess curriculum available through the Student Activities website. You can also find my first 9 lessons, Let's Play Chess Step by Step. And in addition, there are loads and loads of free resources on the internet. Just Google chess or chess instruction, and you'll find way more than you'll ever need. Now, the lovely and talented Christine Van Cott will be facilitating the next portion of your training. Once again, if you have questions during the presentation, please enter them in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. If we don't answer your question during the training, we'll email questions and answers afterwards. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, if you may, I would like to answer a question live. So one of our coaches is asking if, he's asking what we are advising on social distancing for practices. So we are actually posting some of those resources on our website where coaches can, working together with Zoom and Chess Kid, you will have access to do some practices via Zoom and Chess Kid.
By the way, let me give you a brief teaser. On Chess Kid, you can play any of your students, and your students can play each other. So there's no excuse for not playing.
Right.
All righty. For the rest of the workshop, here is Christine Van Cott from Chess Kid. She'll teach you everything you need to get yourself and your kids started on this fantastic website, a website that can keep you and your kids busy for years to come. Christine, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Great. Thank you so much. I'm Christine. I'm from chesskid.com, and I'm one of the staff members who helps get teachers and coaches set up and comfortable using the site. So I'm really excited to be here today and to share this resource with you. Let me go ahead and share my screen and make sure that that's working so that you all can see everything that I'm doing. And I want to make sure that looks okay. Christina or Angie, can you just nod that you can see my green Chess Kid screen? Okay, great, wonderful. Let me move this over. I'm going to start out with a brief overview of a couple of activities that both you and your kids will have access to on the website. How to access the account as you, the teacher, coach. We'll take a look at the teacher account and get comfortable with how to set up your classroom, do a little bit of housekeeping, how to make sure that your kids have full access to everything on the site. And then I'm excited to share our chess teaching resource. So if you have questions about where to start or how to teach the game of chess, how to present it to kids, hopefully we'll be able to answer a lot of those questions. Chess Kid is a website. And our recommendation for you to log on to the site is directly via a browser. So www.chesskid.com. What this means is that both you and your students have access to your personal account anytime you have access to the internet. So from home, from school, from a computer lab, or from a tablet or a mobile device. There is a free app that's available as well. And when you log into the app, you log in exactly the same way, using your username and password. So both you and your kids will have separate usernames and passwords that are unique to you. So it's important that you log into your own account. The site will track all of the activities that the kids have done, and it will track how your group is interacting with the site as well. So we'll go over a couple of those resources and you can see how active your kids actually are on the site. Our goal is to make chess fun enough and accessible enough that kids will want to choose to play chess. So this can be a great resource. It's meant to be used outside of your club time, or any of the resources can be used inside of the club as well. So if you wanted to start off your chess teaching with one of our videos, you could do that. The kids will have a whole bunch of puzzles and videos that they can access on their own. And they can be working through our interactive lesson levels on their own as well. So there's a whole bunch of activities. I will start off with just a couple of things that both you and your kids have access to on the site. The first thing that I want to mention is that your homepage will look different from your kids' homepages. So the view that kids see when they log in will be slightly different, but it will have access to the same resources. My recommendation is to log in from a browser because the browser version of the website includes more resources than the app version. The app version includes things that we find kids do on the go. So they can play puzzles, they can play games, they can watch videos, they can work through lessons, but they won't have access to other resources that the site has, like clubs and tournaments, which we'll talk about just a little bit later. Using chesskid.com, they can play an actual live game with another live chess kid anytime they want to. So if your kids get excited and decide that they want to play a game of chess, they can play a game of chess anytime they want. And they can specifically challenge kids that are in their class or club as well. There's also a puzzle section. Oh, I should point out, this is what we call fast chess. This is a live game between two real students on the site, played in real time. There's also something called slow chess, which is a correspondence game where each opponent has several days to make a move. There are tactics puzzles, which will be a puzzle where the student is presented with a position on the board and chooses the best possible move in any particular situation. Puzzles are easily the most popular part of the site, but it's important to have some of the basics of the game in order to be able to solve the puzzle. So talking about basics, under the Learn section, this is where we have a self-guided lesson level program. So if a student would like to, they can work from level to level, lesson to lesson. Each level starts off with a brief introduction video that explains the concept and then goes through a series of interactive questions so that the student can both learn and practice that particular concept. Students can work through lessons on their own, and you as a teacher can refer to this list as well, but I have a really easier teaching guide when we get to that. There are a couple of advanced resources and extra activities, which I'll go over near the end, just for teachers and coaches who may have been using ChessKid for a little while already and would like to take it to the next level. I can stop there, Dennis, if there are any questions, or otherwise I want to make sure that everyone knows how to access the site as a teacher.
Well, there was one question about kids who had accounts last year, and I sent a typed email answer or a typed answer in the chat to that. We'll be getting to that a little bit later on, so sit tight. We're still good.
Okay, great. So the first thing to know is how to log into your own account. And as Coach Ravenel explained, you should have received an invitation in your email. If you are brand new to ChessKid.com and do not currently have a teacher coach account already, it will invite you to create an account, and then it will automatically give you access to your group of kids. If you are a pre-existing teacher on the site, you will probably already have the access to your school that you need. If you have moved schools, you may actually be receiving an invitation, and this will be something that you'll need to accept. It will move you and add you to the new school, and this should show up in two places. So you should receive both an email, and if you already have an account, when you log into your ChessKid account, it would show up in your message inbox. So looking at the home page, on the top right-hand side, this will be your username and avatar, and right underneath it, you'll see little message bubbles. That's the ChessKid message inbox, and that's where the invitation will appear. If you already have a ChessKid account, you'll just click accept, and it will add you to the new school. I want to talk briefly about the navigation of the home page. So once you've logged into your teacher coach account, it's important to find your list of kids, so your classroom or your club. I recommend using the main left menu. This will always get you to the right place. And you'll click on the link here that says kids. Your account may look slightly different. It may have slightly different buttons in the center of the screen. The other button that you could click is the one that says groups. What you will not want to click is the link in the center that says My Kids, which is unlikely that you all will ever have this. This is sort of the, if you had kids that were not in this same grouping system before, or this little icon underneath your avatar. This also takes you to a kids list. Just remember, you'll use the main left menu and click Kids or the Groups button in the center of the screen. This is an example account. This is not one of your accounts, nor is it the Dallas program account. This account is set up to be a teacher account that has access to several different schools. It's possible that if you are a teacher at an old school and have been added to your new school, you may see a view like this. But more likely, if you're a teacher who works at just one school, you'll be taken directly into your school group and your list of kids. So I'll go ahead and click on one of the schools here in my example account. When you click on this kids link, you'll be able to see your school or classroom at the top of the screen. There are 4 tabs on this page, and this will become important when you're organizing your students. If you have kids already in your kid list at your school, it will automatically take you to this far left tab that says kids. So I think we've covered how to accept your invitation and then how to navigate to your kids list from your homepage. Once you're in your kids list, this is where you'll manage your classroom. So this will be the actual list of all of the students that you work with and who are participating in the chess club. The first, I guess, task, if you don't already have any students in this list, is how to create new student accounts. And that will be using the link on the right-hand side of the screen here that says Add New Kids. One of the benefits of being in this grouping system on ChessKid is that you'll be able to create the username for your student. And that way it's much easier for you to be able to tell who your students are and for your students to be able to remember their usernames and passwords as well. On this form to add new kids, I do recommend filling in a real first name and last name. It will only be visible to you as the guardian. So this is not something that's visible on the World Wide Web. It's just in order to be able to help you keep track of who's who. I do recommend using a custom username. And Coach Ravenel and I had chatted just a little bit about this. We recommend a standard naming system. And I would probably recommend name of school, first name of student, last initial. Coach Ravenel, does that sound good to you as well?
That sounds great to me, and you don't even necessarily have to have the entire school name. For example, if your school name is Longfellow, you might want to use a code that you'd recognize like LF. I would hesitate using Long because there's another elementary school called Long. But even if we have two schools with the first, with the school identification, it would only be a few schools, so it would still be relatively easy for us to work with. But definitely something that identifies all of the kids in your group with the first several letters.
And that brings up a great point. Custom usernames do have a character limit, and really for students and for young folks, it's very difficult to be able to type and remember a long username anyway. So it can only be up to 20 characters, and I do recommend including something as an abbreviation or a school name at the beginning of it. You'll also want to enter a password. And I recommend a password that is short and easy to remember. So perhaps a school mascot or something that the students know immediately. The password must be at least 6 characters, and note that the password is case sensitive. So especially for younger students, you might want to make it all lowercase. Because you will be guardians of your kids' accounts, you will actually have the ability to reset a password if a student forgets it, and we'll go over that next. You do not need to fill in a parent email or a kid email. So the 4 fields that I recommend are first name, last name, custom username, and an easy to remember password. You can use the links at the top of the screen here to be able to navigate back to the main group page. So I've just clicked on the school name at the top. And now, once you've generated your kids' accounts, they'll show below here in the kids list. Next up is making sure that your kids have access to all of the resources on the site.
Christine, we have a few questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is coming from one of our coaches. If I remove a student from Chess Kid, will they lose their points or level?
Okay, I'm going to touch on that in just a moment. The short answer is no. The Chess Kid account is retained in the Chess Kid system always. So it will always retain their history, their username, and they can log in even if they've moved to a different state or a different district or if they've graduated. So Chess Kid always has that account unless you choose to close it. But if you're removing it from your classroom list, the student would still be able to use it. So next up is making sure that kids have access to all of the resources on ChessKid. ChessKid as a website has 2 levels of access. There are what we call free accounts, basic accounts, and what we call gold accounts. And this is where your school district has very graciously, generously offered full access to the resources on ChessKid. And this is important for kids to be able to work through the lessons as well. When you look at a student's username from your kids list, so again, I'm on the kids page, I'm on the kids tab on the left, and I'll scroll down to look at the kids in my classroom. If you see this little gold badge icon, that means that this particular student has a gold membership, and that means they have full access to ChessKid. If you see the student has a grayed out background and a gray icon next to their username, that means that they only have a basic account. That means that in order to have full access to the site, they'll need to be able to have a gold membership. It's easy to enable the gold for them. You simply click on the badge icon next to their name and it enables the gold. So I've just enabled full access for this particular student to the site.
Christine, let me jump in here for just a minute.
Absolutely.
Last year, we ended up with a lot of gold memberships that weren't actually being used. So what we're doing this year is we're starting each school out with 10 gold memberships. Now, the first thing we'd like you coaches to do is go over the list of kids that you have on your roster. And if those kids are current members of your chess club, give them golds. And you'll be able to give golds up to 10. If you need additional gold memberships, just send me an email, let me know the number of golds that you need. Now, if it turns out that you have 8 kids that are returning from last year, you can make them all gold. You can register 2 new kids. But if you have 5 more kids in your club, just send me an email saying you need 5 more gold memberships. All righty? The new kids that you register will automatically be gold. Is that right, Christine?
I believe they will be if you add a new kid, but you can always go to this kid list and just make sure that that icon is gold, and their little lesson level icon will turn gold as well. That's important to make sure that you know who on your list has full access.
Okay,
And-
now another question has been asked several times, and I'm going to leave this up to you if you can answer it now, Christine, but if not, we may need a strategy for it. Coaches have suggested that a number of their sixth graders, for example, who were in their school last year, are now moving to a different school, to middle school. What's the best way to make sure that those records transfer?
Okay, this is going to be interesting, and it's going to require a little bit of coordination between Coach Raveneau and the Chess Kid team. If you have graduating students who you know are going to be moving from one school in the district to another school in the district, and you know their usernames, you know their identity, I would pass that along in an email to Coach Raveneau, and he'll either be able to move them himself or reach out to us on the Chess Kid team in order to be able to do that. But we definitely don't want kids to lose their hard-earned work. They've worked through those lessons. They've got fast chess and slow chess ratings and puzzle ratings and a puzzle history. We want them to be able to keep all of that. So if they have a current account and you know that they'll be relocating to another school, please let us know.
And the other thing that would be helpful too, coaches, if you have a student who was not in your school or in your club last year, find out if they did have a Chess Kid account last year in another school, because I can either get the information from the sending coach or from the coach at the school the kids arrive. Either way, we can make that happen as long as we can identify the student and the account that, or the school that he came from. Another quick question. How do kids find each other so that they can challenge each other?
I think I would like to maybe tackle that one later on.
Okay.
The short answer to this is if your kids are all in the same classroom group together. So if you've added your kids and they are appearing in your kids list on your groups page, they will automatically be able to find each other to play in fast chess and in what we call puzzle duel. So they'll automatically be created as what we call club mates, and that means that they'll be able to find each other for challenges. It gets more advanced from there, and it's important to know that if kids would like to send a challenge for a real-time game, they must both be in the fast chess section of the site at the same time. So not just logged into Chess Kid, but logged into Chess Kid and either in fast chess or in puzzle duel. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves there, so I'll go over that at the end with some of the more advanced features. So what Coach Raveneau pointed out here, and I realize this is the housekeeping part of this presentation, but this is very important. You as the coach teacher are responsible for maintaining your current roster. And that means that making sure that your active students have accounts and that they have gold memberships on their accounts. There may be instances where you are in a school or are added to a school that already has kid accounts in it. And perhaps these are not students with whom you work anymore. And perhaps you don't know if they've moved on to another school or not, and you just like to remove them from your list. We recommend doing this. So please, once you have your current roster, make sure that the list of kids that you see here in your school group page is in fact the group of kids that you're currently working with. If, for instance, there's a student with whom you are no longer working and you know that they're no longer in the school district, you don't know what school they moved to, you can remove them from your list. And that's by using one of the tools here in the little hamburger drop-down menu next to each kid's name. When you expand this view of this menu, and so make sure that you're on the student to whom you'd like to remove, use the little hamburger drop-down menu. It's right here to the right of their username. And then there's a link here that says remove. And this harkens back to the question that was asked earlier. What this does is remove them from your classroom, remove them from the school district. It removes their gold access. So that means that that can be assigned to another student, but it does not actually close the account. It just removes you and the school district as a guardian from their account. So even if they moved to a whole nother state, they'd still be able to log in. I'll go ahead and click this. It'll make sure that that's what you want to do. You can confirm it, and they'll just be removed from your student list. While I'm looking at a couple of the other tools here on the kids page, this is where you'll have access to all of your kids' accounts and can manage them. So by using that little drop-down hamburger menu next to the side of each kid's name, this is where you have access to that particular individual student. One thing I want to point out for sure is the Edit Kid page, which I'll take a look at here. But you also have the ability to see an individual report card. You can see their individual game history. You can go through and send them a quick message. This is where you have access to each of your individual students. The Edit Kid page is an important page because this is where you can make a username change request. You can make changes to a first name or last name if there was something that was entered incorrectly. And probably most importantly for students, this is where you can reset their password. So here is where you'll be able to, if one student hasn't logged in a long time or changed their password and doesn't remember it, because students do that all the time, this is where you'll be able to make a change to that. Back on your kids page, so I'm going to actually go to the main kids list and then click back into my classroom. There's one more resource that might help you as you get set up and send all the information to your students, teaching them how to log in. And that's this resource on the right-hand side that says Print Login Cards. This is sort of designed for an in-person class, so I realize from a virtual standpoint it may not be quite as helpful, but what this does is it allows you to print out a little business card size sheet that has their real name, their username, their password, and the name of the website, and there's a little print icon up here as well. This allows you to pass them out inside of your class or club so that the student knows how to log into their ChessKid account. And again, we recommend using a direct login from the website as opposed to any other login system. We've gone over how to access your kids list, the tools that you'll find on the kids list, how to make sure that your kids have full access to the website by making sure that your current roster is gold, and how to remove any students with whom you no longer work. So we are on to the fun part. And Mr. Ravenel, this is where, again, he mentioned if you need more golds for your particular class or club, especially if you have two coaches who are assigned to the school, you'll need to reach out to Coach Ravenel and he'll be able to reassign that for you. However, at the top of the page, you'll be able to see how many gold memberships are allotted to your classroom and how many of them are currently being used as gold. So you can always refer to the top of the page here too, just to make sure that you're using all of the accounts that you have access to. We are on to the fun part of the site, and this is where I hope to alleviate anyone's concerns who is a new chess teacher and would like to know, where do I start?
Christine, before you go on, let me just throw one more question out there. Well, two more questions actually. One, can coaches monitor students during fast chess games?
Yes, so you have the ability to view any game that's being played on the site. And I'll go into our fast chess server. So what I've done is I've gone to the play page and then to what we call play versus kid, which is what we refer to as fast chess. And that simply means chess played in real time. Chess played in real time is played in what we call several different time controls. They can play a 5-minute game, a 10-minute game, or a 15-minute game. And that means that each side has that amount of time to play. As a coach, so as an adult on the site, you cannot send an open challenge for a game. We reserve that only for kid accounts. So that's why it's important that kids play in their own account and play as a kid. You can send direct challenges. So if you would like to play one of your students, you will automatically have access to them simply by being in that same classroom group. Over on the right-hand side of the page, this is where you have controls as the coach. So if I click on this global games list, it's showing me every game that's currently being played on the website right now. And I can go in and view any of them by clicking on the little binocular icon next to the game. So this is a real game that's being played in live time right now between two students on the site. Also on that page, if I go back to this global games list, there's a little search bar at the bottom. So if you know the username of your student, you can type it in to search for their particular game and then be able to observe it. The next icon over is the little Friends and Clubmates tab. And this is where, if any of your students are currently on Fast Chess and you would like to play a game with them, then you'll be able to send them a direct challenge. But this is also where kids will be able to challenge each other. So it's important to know what this looks like. If kids would like to play a game between each other, this Friends and Clubmates tab is where they can send each other challenges. This last tab right here is a little bit more of a power user function. I wouldn't worry about it right now. It's for setting up games in between two kids and having them automatically start. Coach Ravenel, any other questions?
No, that's all for right now.
Okay, great. So on to the fun part of teaching the game of chess. When you're logged into your coach teacher account, we have an awesome new teaching resource. And this is relatively new still on the site. It's called the Classroom Planner. This is meant to function as a week-by-week guide to how to teach the game of chess. It goes through the same order as our lesson levels, so they will match up, but it includes a whole bunch of additional resources. And the first thing that I want to point out is the link at the very top of the page that says how to use the Classroom Planner. This is an article with some suggestions as to how to actually use this guide. So that's a great thing to sort of read through. I'm going to walk you through it as well, but that way you can go back and refer to it anytime you might have a question. They're called units. This is simply one digestible piece of information. So it's one lesson at a time, if you will. And when I click the down arrow, it will expand each unit. It'll give the suggested time that we think it might take to introduce this. It will give a description of what you'll be teaching the students in that particular section. Any sort of objectives. So hopefully the big takeaways for students when presenting each one of these pieces of information. And then as you scroll down, this is a quick link to the video that's associated with this particular unit. And the lesson that's associated with this particular unit. And those are the two big pieces of information. If you would like to, say, for instance, start off a week's class with a video or something like that, this would be a quick way to be able to find that. There are additional activities located below. These are all optional. Everything on here is optional, but it's just a very nice step-by-step guide where you can follow along progressively through the material on the site. Under extra activities, this written curriculum page, when Coach Ravenel was referring to the written curriculum that ChessKid has created, this is the actual page from our written curriculum that corresponds with this particular unit. So that's just a quick guide to it. It is available as a complete written curriculum as well, but hopefully this will save some trees and make it very easy for folks who are being able to teach remotely. There may be additional videos, there may be additional activities, things like thematic puzzles. Here, this one includes a worksheet from the written curriculum as well, but each unit is different and all of the activities are optional. The main things to take away are the video that's associated with the unit and the lesson level that's associated with the unit. If you would like to keep track and follow along, you can check mark off that you've used any of these particular resources. It'll show that this particular unit is in progress. And if you'd like to follow along and keep track of where you are within the lesson levels, you can use this little check mark at the top that says mark as complete. And that way, as you follow along through all of the lesson levels, you'll know exactly where you left off and what you'll be teaching next week in preparation. These resources overlap with some of the other things that we have on the site. Sometimes they'll have terrific activities here, a review, how to set up a board. And so let me show you at the top here as well, there's an additional resource, Setup Board, which can be a terrific presentation board when you're working remotely, as many of us are at the moment. This is our new analysis board feature where you'll have access to be able to set up a board, say for instance, on a Zoom call with your students. So if you need to set up a position that's referenced in the lesson, that's available as well. Coach Ravenel mentioned an additional resource that was called the Magic of Chess video. And I don't have that over here on the right-hand side. I would like to, though. Thank you, Coach Ravenel. I definitely will. I want to show you where you can find that. And that's under some of the additional resources that we have on the site. Under the Learn section, there are a whole bunch of really wonderful resources here that you and your students both have access to. Some of these I recommend that you explore on your own. The one in particular I wanted to point out, or two rather, the lessons and the videos. When I go to the videos page, there are more than 800 videos that are available for kids, and they're all created by ChessKid, and they're with kids in mind. So they're short, they're fun, they have humor, they have graphics and animations and sound effects. It's not meant to be a boring Grandmaster lecture. It's meant to be something really enjoyable to watch. They're usually about 5 to 10 minutes long. The one that Coach Ravenel is referring to is on the right-hand side of the screen when you go to the videos page, called Learn to Play Chess, Watch This Video. It's a little bit longer than some of our other introductory videos. I think it's about 13 minutes long, and it goes through all of the pieces. So it explains a ton of information all at one time, but it will definitely get you started playing chess very, very quickly. The videos page is searchable, and there are some really fun additional resources on here. So I do recommend exploring this, and there are some associated videos as you go through the classroom planner as well. So if there's something that we think corresponds with that particular lesson, it'll be linked there also. Also under the Learn page, and I'll go up to the Lessons section. These are the lessons that I was referring to that the classroom planner follows along with in order. So it starts off with how the pieces move, check, checkmate, stalemate, and this is where the point at which they can play a legal game. As Coach Ravenel was discussing tactics, strategy, it will introduce the concept of en passant. It will introduce the concept of how to castle. So you can very quickly follow through the initial concepts that they hope that students will have learned by the end of their first year. When you click into a lesson, the lesson will have a video, and you can always re-watch the video by clicking back into the lesson. And it also has a series of interactive questions where you can go through and take a look at what's being presented, and you can go through them yourself as well. This is one thing I want to point out as you set up your coach teacher account, and that is that as an adult, you can set your lesson level to anything you would like it to be. And what that does is it unlocks all of this material so that you can go through and read it in advance without having to actually work through it progressively. Students must work through the lessons progressively, and by graduating from the first level, they move to the second, and they level up from there on. Under your settings, so on the right-hand side of the screen underneath your username and avatar, you'll click the settings cog, and then scroll down to where it says lesson level on the right-hand side of the page. By setting your lesson level to something other than the very beginning, you'll unlock all of that lesson material and have access to it. So you'll be able to skip around, watch any of the videos, work through any of the lessons. That's something to keep in mind as you work with your group of students. As your students work through the lesson levels, or if you're using the classroom planner, if you skip ahead to a lesson level that the student has not already passed, they will not yet have access to that lesson level. You do have the ability to reset their lesson level from that Edit Kid page, but I don't recommend it. It's an accomplishment to work from level to level. And it can be a really fun sort of classroom goal to have everyone on, say, level Bishop 3 by the end of the year or something like that. There are some more additional advanced resources. And so this is a section for teachers or coaches who are really loving teaching chess, or who maybe taught chess to their students last year. I want to be able to point out just a couple of extra resources.
Christine, before you go on,
Yeah.
there's a question that I think is a very good one right now. Can we assign videos to groups of kids? Can we give kids specific assignments?
So there is not an assignment tool, but the way that we recommend doing this is by using one of the group tools, the admin tools on the right-hand side of the page called Announcements. Your kids, if they have gold access to the site, will have access to all of the videos. So my recommendation is to go into your classroom and then use the Announcements link on the right-hand side of the page and say, students, this week, I would like for everyone to watch this particular video, and include the URL link. So everything on ChessKid has a unique URL, and if you paste that URL into your message text here, it will create a clickable link. And the students should receive a little pop-up when they log into the site next time, and they can click the link. This is a great reminder, though. I would remind your students to look for messages from you, because kids are not in the habit of looking for emails in the same way that we are. And to do that, let me go ahead and show you what a kid account looks like. I will go into one of my example kids here, and I'm going to do that by something called impersonation. And so I'm actually looking at this particular kid's account as though I were the kid. So this is what it'll look like when your kids log into their homepage, and it has all these fun sound effects that go with it, as you can tell. But the kid message inbox is over here on the top left. And if they have a message in their inbox, it will have a bright red number alert next to it, showing them that they need to be able to look at that message. So you might want to point that out to kids. This kids page has the same left-hand menu here that your adult page has. So they have access to the lessons, to the videos, all the other resources like workouts and vision. If they would like to play games, they can do that here or directly in the center of the page where it says play versus kid. Puzzle Duel is a puzzle game, so that's a little bit different than pure tactics puzzles. They can access tactics puzzles right here from the puzzles link on the left main menu. And this is a great resource to know exists too. If you click directly on the puzzles link here, it will open up both their puzzle history in the center of the page. So this is what this particular student has been working on. You can go back and access a puzzle anytime you'd like to, if you'd like to review it again. And there are also thematic puzzles, which can be a terrific resource. But if kids don't know that that's there on that main puzzles page, that's a great thing to point out. They also have access to their current lesson level directly from their homepage. So just by clicking the start button here, that will start them through the lesson's progress.
Okay, Christine, we have another question from a coach. They would like to know if there are any bilingual resources.
We do have, I believe it's 11 or 16 languages on the site at the moment. Both you and your kids can set your language for the site from your settings page. For you as an adult, it's here on the right-hand side of the screen. The settings cog will look the same from a kid account, but it'll be underneath their avatar on the left-hand side of the page. When I click the settings link, it will ask me what language I would like to be displayed. And you can select from the language list. We do have translated lessons and lesson videos for Spanish, French, I think shortly Russian. So yes, there are additional resources, and I imagine Spanish is the big question there. And yes, some of the videos and the lesson levels, the actual lesson text has been translated. So just by resetting your language here, you can access it.
Thank you.
I want to be sure and point out it's available on this settings page. It's also available from the Learn page and the Classroom Planner page. And that's this blue question mark under resources that says how to use ChessKid. So this is for everyone. If you have a question, this would be the first place I would try. There is a video tutorials guide. So if you'd like to watch a tutorial, I want to point out that you are in an account which we call Enterprise. So these top topics here are perfectly viable for you, but there's a special section right here called ChessKid Enterprise Account Tutorials. This is more for probably the administration than it is for the day-to-day teacher, but it can be very helpful if you have a question about assigning goal seats or how to add kids or all sorts of other enterprise-specific topics. Also on this page, however, the How to Use ChessKid page, are some really great resources. And this is where we get into a couple more advanced features, managing clubs, how to use ChessKid inside of your clubs. They have some great suggestions, how to set up online events, how to set up tournaments. This is that same How to Use the Classroom Planner page. What are levels? How to work through them, how to play fast games and slow games and bots. So if you have a question in using the site, I do recommend starting on this page. And then I should say I'm not the typical ChessKid staff member who will be answering your questions and managing your account. That's my colleague, Michelle Martinez. So I would think first your questions will go to Coach Ravenel, and then you may be hearing from Michelle Martinez as well about specific questions regarding your account. Additionally, for slightly more advanced coaches here, let me go back into the groups page. So I'm going to go back into my classroom group, and I want to point out some of the resources that are on the right-hand side of the page, specifically report cards and leaderboards. Leaderboards are a great way to gauge activity of your classroom. So the leaderboard is showing a specific activity for a specific period of time, just for that group, so just for that classroom. Here I have it set to puzzles, but you can also look at fast chess or slow chess or what we call activity stars, which are earned by doing activities on the site. Here it's showing all time, and because these are my example kids, I'm so sorry, it's not a real example of the activity of the kids, but you can also toggle between the last week or the last month. So here you can see how many of your kids have been solving puzzles, if they're playing fast games, if they're playing slow games, if they've been active on the site, and you can sort by the column as well. So if you'd like to see who got the most puzzles correct, say in the past week or in the past month, this can create a really quick activity for you, a quick competition. You can say, let's see who can solve the most puzzles correctly by next week's chess club. I've got a bookmark or a sticker, you know, something really fun as an incentive. Kids have the ability to be able to see this page if they know where to look. So they'll know exactly who's in the lead for your weekly competition and exactly how many puzzles they need to solve in order to win that bookmark by the next class time, which can be kind of fun too. Sometimes that motivates students, and sometimes teachers decide that this is a non-motivator. So I'll leave that up to you all to decide if your class would like to try it.
Christine, Dennis, are there other questions you might need to be asking right now?
There are some that I think we're going to answer after the presentation's over, but here's one. I got a question, is there a limit to gold memberships? And that's a soft no. The district has purchased enough memberships to really give everyone in our chess program gold memberships. Now, we started out with an allocation of 10 per school. Some schools will not even use their 10. Some schools may request as many as 50, 60, 70, 80. As long as we have memberships, I will continue to assign goals to those schools. But as we get close to the limit that we have, I'm going to, in fact, even before we get close, I'm going to be monitoring schools' usage. If there are kids in your school, in your program, who have gold memberships, the first thing I'm going to do is, if they've never logged on by the time we get to December or January, then I'm going to remove those goals. If there are kids who've logged on simply once or twice, if we need them, I'll remove those goals and reassign them to schools that have kids that are actually using them. So as long as we have gold memberships, you can ask me for as many as you like, but do understand that kids who don't use the program will not be able to keep those goals.
And Angie, we are going to try to make sure every active kid has, right?
Oh, definitely. That is our goal. So no, we're gonna make it happen. If the coaches need extra memberships, all they have to do is reach out to me or to Dennis, and we'll get that available to them.
And this is a great segue into being able to see how active your kids are on the site.
Hang on
Mr.
just 1
Ravenel,
second,
go ahead,
Christine,
yeah.
because there was one other question. Someone wanted to know if they could invite kids from other schools into the program, and that answer
Right,
is unequivocally no. They're only for district DISD students. And then
Correct.
the other question was, can they invite parents? That would have to be an individual decision made by Ms. Nuno.
Right. So any questions they have, they can contact me. But this program is specifically for our Dallas ISD students. So now if the question is that they invite parents like to kind of be a sponsor or assist with the coaching, they have to be cleared through the volunteer department. So there's a lot of other questions or that we would have to ask that coach when a parent is involved.
And this program goes all the way down to the 3rd grade. So there was some question about 6th grade students. So
I believe the 6th grade question was about esports.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll really quickly touch on the concept of guardianship. if you have a very active parent who would like to monitor their kids' activity online, which I appreciate, they do have the ability to add a guardian, a parent, a biological parent guardian attached to the kid's account. And that way the student can play chess with their parent and the parent can actually monitor what the student is doing as well. You would do that from your kids list and again on that edit kid tool. So that really is where you manage all of your individual students. So I'm on my kids tab. I'll use that drop down to look at edit kid. And on the right hand side of the page, oh, it's a little bit different on this page, it'll say parents email. I normally don't recommend doing this up front. It requires the parent to also have a ChessKid account. So they really need to be a very active parent in order to be associated with their kid's account. But this is reserved really for the biological parent of the student, just so that it can be an additional safety check. And also if the parent is a chess player and would like to participate. There are a couple ways that you can see how active your kids are on the site, and the district will be able to see that as well. Firstly, on your home page, there's this brief activity snapshot that'll be in the center of the page. If you're the member of more than one group or school, or if you have a club created, you'll be able to access that here. And it will very quickly show you how many of your kids have played a game, how many puzzles they've solved, how many games have been played, if they've been working through lessons, and if they've been active by earning stars. But there are more advanced ways to be able to tell if your kids are active too. The first is by looking again on this kids list. So under your particular school, on the kids tab, under each kid's username, it will show some brief statistics. So the site maintains a rating, both for their fast chess and for their slow chess, for their puzzles, and it shows the last time that they were online. It also shows their lesson level. So you can very quickly tell just by looking at this page, who's been active, who's been working through the lesson levels, and if they've been solving any puzzles or playing any games. And then lastly, I wanted to be sure to point out the report card. The report card on the right-hand side of your group page is a group report card for your specific classroom. So if you decide to hold a puzzle contest, or you want to say, you know, let's set a group goal as a classroom, I'd like everyone to be at least on lesson level Bishop 3, you can choose a time period. I believe it's up to 12 months at a time. And then you can go through and just select the activities that you would like to look at for your classroom. And then when you submit that, it'll create a group report card showing an entire list of your students along with the information that you've requested. This is a very detailed list. So if you've assigned a video, say by using that little announcement link, and you say, I want everyone to watch this video by next week, you can go through, use this report card tool, select just the videos, and it will show the exact video link that those students have watched in that time period. So that can be a very quick way to track progress, especially if you've given an assignment, but also if you want to hold a quick competition or just to see how active your entire class is all at one time. So that's a great resource too. The report card, that's on the kids page. So the kids tab on the right-hand side under reports. I want to very briefly introduce the concept of clubs. This is sort of an advanced user feature, but if your classroom would like to hold a fast chess tournament, so if you want to hold an actual event where all of your kids get online at one time and all play each other and the site matches them up and they play through an entire tournament together, you'll need to have what's called a club. This is not accessible from what we call groups, which is what we've been working through when you click this kids link. This is your group. You have a classroom group. This will be under the button here that says clubs. So under connect and then under clubs. I have a feeling that Coach Ravenel will be setting up some larger clubs for all of the students and perhaps holding some tournaments later in the year. You do have the ability to create clubs. You have the ability to create a classroom club on your own. So if this is something that you would like to explore, I will once again point out that how to use ChessKid button with all of the resources there in the video tutorials. And that'll explain how to set up the club, how to manage the kids in the club, and how to set up and play in a tournament as well. One last note on clubs, please be on the lookout in the future as a teacher coach. There is a special club just for you across the entire Dallas district. And you will be added to that. And I have a feeling we'll be doing that, but since much of the teaching is going virtual this year, we'd very much like for you to have a forum space where you can share ideas, share successes, communicate back and forth just within the teachers in the district. So it'll be a place specifically where you can share things back and forth. You'll find that on your Connect Clubs page, and it won't be immediate. It'll be after everybody gets all of their accounts set up and all of their schools organized. But on the right-hand side of that page, you'll see there will be a forum link. So I'll click into one of my clubs, and you'll look for the forum link on the right-hand side.
And Christine, this is going to be a positive space, right?
Oh, I certainly hope so. And I will say it's managed by the district. So there's definitely someone who's moderating the discussions that go on there. But the intent for this particular forum is to be able to share successes and share ideas and say, you know, hey, we've got this idea, or what was your particular motivator? I used a bookmark as a prize. We've created a hallway gold star board, and we dry erase everybody's names up and down the hall or in the library, or, you know, sharing of ideas. So yeah, absolutely. There was a question much earlier about how do kids connect on the site. And I want to touch briefly on the concept of friends. If your kids are all in the same classroom group together, there is no reason that they need any other connection on the site. They have all the connection they need to be able to play each other in fast chess and in puzzle duels and to play with you as the teacher. There is something called friends on the site, and that's when you go to the connect link on the left-hand side, and kids will see this the same way. It'll say connect, and then it'll say friends. Friends are really reserved for kids other kids know in real life. So it could be family, it could be a cousin who lives in a different state. But again, if they are in that kids group, kids classroom group altogether, there is no reason that they need to additionally become friends with everyone. Friends is a very restrictive designation on ChessKid. A double-blind invitation must be sent in both directions. So it's intentionally difficult. It's meant for kids to connect in real life. It does not give any additional chatting or messaging or any other capabilities. All it does is link them up in the same way that your classroom group already has. I'll leave it there and open up to any other questions if you all have anything at all.
Let me throw one note out to new coaches as well as old coaches. I got a question that someone has not received an invitation to ChessKid. Any of you who have not received an invitation to ChessKid, just send me an email. Once I confirm with Angie that you're on the approved chess coaches list, I'll send you an invitation. If you're a returning coach and you can't remember your password, I will have to send you a new invitation. So once again, just send me an email, request a new invitation, I'll get it to you. And one other quick note, we have a lot of coaches and a lot of schools. It would be extraordinarily helpful if whenever you email me, please identify your school. Because if I have to check who you're with, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. If you're emailing me about a student, particularly in terms of a tournament, give me the student's name and grade level, and that would make it a lot easier for me to follow up.
Here, I see two questions that are currently in the Q&A, which actually would be very relevant. The first one is, how are the stars in puzzles earned? Activity stars are earned by doing activities on the site. Just by logging in, they can spin a wheel and be able to earn some stars. So we want to create logging in and playing chess as a daily habit. If they solve puzzles, they receive activity stars. I think they receive 3 for a correct answer and fewer if they do a multiple step problem. And they also receive stars for any time they play a game, both fast and slow. There is another question, are groups and clubs, oh, and there's a little daily task for kids as well. If they complete the task each day, so the concept again is to get them into the habit of thinking about chess on a daily basis, then they'll also earn little stars to go with that. Are groups and clubs the same? Absolutely not. And this is a very relevant question. It's important to know groups and clubs are different. So when you're creating your kids list, you're creating it as a group, and that's what you're going to use to manage your kids. When you create a club, it is a separate entity. It does not it doesn't automatically update the roster back and forth. You'll need to actually manage a club by adding kids or removing kids. But clubs are what but allow the capability to be able to play tournaments and events. So that's why they're important. They have most of the same tools as the groups. So for most of the beginning chess teachers, there will be no reason to create an additional club. To pick up and leave off, if you were a coach last year, you'll probably need to look at your Chess Kid inbox to make sure that you have an invitation to a new school. If you were a teacher who was set up last year and is staying at the same school, you should be good to go, except for those housekeeping items where you need to go through and make sure that the current roster of students you're working with are the current students that are also in your chess club this year, and that they have gold membership access. And if you know that there are students on that list who are no longer at the school or with whom you're no longer working, you can go through and remove them individually one by one. So that's the housekeeping. It's best for the teachers who work with the students on a day-to-day basis to know who the student's going to be showing up in class.
Okay, I guess that wraps it up. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hope to see you at some face-to-face tournaments in the spring, but for now we'll do virtual and utilize these great resources. If you have any questions, reach out to Angie. She's more than happy to help you in any way if we didn't get to your questions tonight. And in the meantime, have a great year and stay connected and get involved.
That's right. Thank you, coaches. Thank you, Dennis, Christine. Have a wonderful evening.